Welcome to Film to Fantasy, where we turn popular movies, great movies, into fantastic D&D adventures. I'm here with my co-host Fred, the master of creating brilliant D&D adventures, merging the line between brilliant and slightly terrifying. Welcome, Fred. How you doing?
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
So long.
Fred is my forever DM and has crafted brilliant adventures for me.
DM, never the player.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm Jono, your host. I'll be guiding you along the adventure, hopefully prodding at Fred's mind to create something that is truly brilliant, that captures the essence of the film that you'd like to play in. Some films are absolutely brilliant D&D adventures, I'm sure. The Princess Bride, Lord of the Rings, I don't know.
Transformers.
Is that a brilliant one? I don't think.
No,
I don't think that's a brilliant. No. There are plenty of brilliant movies that can be turned into fantastic.
Not the Transformers, though.
Not the Transformers.
No.
That can be turned into brilliant D&D adventures. But there are some maybe couldn't be. Moneyball, we discovered.
Yeah. Spreadsheet, The
Terrible.
Martian.
Yeah, rubbish.
Yeah, again. Whereas The Wolf of Wall Street, we discovered genius.
Absolutely brilliant. I'm going to be taking you on a journey today, giving you a new movie, giving Fred a new movie, and hoping he can turn it into a brilliant adventure, which we will turn into a adventure that you can play for yourself. I have my black book here.
It's so exciting.
I know.
A book
I literally bought a book specifically for this.
It's like props.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there stuff written in it as well, or is it just for these guys? Just for show?
No, there's stuff in here.
Oh, wow, okay.
I mean, this is like, it goes beyond the Mind Palace.
Okay. I, for one, am riveted.
Okay, your first... Well, your film, I suppose.
Yeah,
your film, 2007. A real classic for me growing up in. Kind of merging the time of Hunger Games, Divergent, its teen adventure. The Maze Runner.
The Maze Runner.
The Maze Runner.
Oof.
I'm taking you back to Thomas ascending the elevator into the glade for the first time, a community of boys that have had their memories wiped, running through the maze trying to find a way to get out, haunted by mechanical spiders, just trying to figure out what's going on. Can I get initial thoughts from you on this?
Well, interestingly, so this is the first one you've asked me that I've seen maybe once, maybe twice.
Really?
Like, almost never. Because I never got it. Why are they running? Why are they there? And there are multiple maze runners, but I didn't get invested enough in the first one to answer that question.
That's fine.
So all I know is there's boys there. There's the bloke with the eyebrows.
Will Poulter.
My gosh, I love that guy.
Sexy Will Poulter.
I love that guy
can
so
we just
much.
say?
Best thing that Britain's produced in quite a while.
Absolutely.
Apologies, Cavill, but like, anyway,
so fit.
It's so fit. You see him in The Bear.
Yeah.
Danish chef. What? Are you? Anyway, so they're running, and there's spiders in there.
Yeah.
So tell me more.
Okay,
I
right.
remember this plot vaguely.
So, and obviously, doesn't need to be said, or shouldn't have to be said, but there are spoilers for the movie we're about to talk about. So, Thomas ascends into the glade, which is the area they're in. It's a big circle amidst a large maze that surrounds it around the outside. It sort of poses as it's a teen adventure film. I think it might have been a book first. I don't know. I didn't even check that. But there's definitely intrigue around it. There is, why are we here? Everyone's had their memories wiped before they've been in here. So the first thing they remember is waking up in the elevator. And they're just trying to live life. You've got farmers, you've got people, but you've got the maze runners. And they're the
elite.
They're the elite. They're
the cool kids.
They're the sexy guys.
I hate those guys.
Yeah, no, they're super sexy.
They're so sexy.
Super sexy.
I get to run a maze.
So funny enough, the encampment is run by, I think it's Thomas Brody Sangster, who looks, you know who I'm talking about? The guy who, he looks 12 in it, but he's actually 25. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I can't remember.
He is, this is a digress, he is Liam Neeson's kid in my words are failing me now. In the famous Love Actually.
Oh, in Love Actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
That guy.
Yeah, that guy.
You love that guy.
You love that guy.
Of course, I love that guy.
the background for this is that there is a virus going on around the world. People being turned into zombies, sort of. It's not important for this film, but it's important for the other films.
Okay.
And the kids in here, they're put in here as a scientific experiment to try and figure out how their brains will respond to different stimuli. And it turns out the stimuli that they're giving the kids is, we're going to try and get massive, giant mechanical spiders to eat your faces.
Okay.
That's what we're doing here.
I feel like that's a reasonable thing to do in the face of a zombie apocalypse. Giant spiders.
The scientific company that's doing it is called WCKD, Wicked. Not like cool Wicked, naughties, like evil Wicked.
Like bad Wicked.
Bad Wicked.
Not like West End musical. Like
No. Yeah. Awful. And these giant mechanical spiders, you might remember what they look like briefly.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of like giant spiders, but they're these massive mechanical. They'll eat your faces.
Giant multi-legged mechs.
Yeah, horrible noises. But they're kind of like sinewy as well. They're kind of like...
Yeah. They remind me a bit of in The Matrix. Those things floating along.
Yeah,
not
that's right.
Will Smith, Wild Wild West.
No. That's
not like that.
No. Not like that, yeah.
No.
So Thomas, throughout the film, he becomes a maze runner. I can't remember exactly when this happens, but the person after him is a girl. Ooh. Big teen like stuff. Will they? Won't they? You know.
Yeah.
But she can't remember anything. But she wakes up and she goes, Thomas, and everyone is like, you're called Thomas. This is the. You know.
It must be the same guy.
But she comes up with a note, and I think the note is something like, "This is your last note. This is the last shipment." Oh, because they were delivering food to them before. So this is when they realise we've got to get out of here. We've got to figure it out. And so throughout this movie, basically, Thomas and a few of the other runners, got some other names here. I don't think actually many of these... Newt was never a runner. Gally might have been a runner. But yeah, anyway, these runners, they take off and they start to like try and kill the spiders. They kind of trap the doors, kind of move around them in these mazes. And they eventually like break out through where the spiders like live and like power off and break out into the facility and take everyone with them and escape. And crucially, the doors only open at night, and they shut in the morning. And
Otherwise
the spiders
you get trapped in there, don't you?
Otherwise you get trapped in, and the spiders eat your face. And it's only during the day, so it's during the day.
So don't get trapped in there, or you lose your face.
Yeah.
Awkward.
So
social interactions.
That's right. So this is the movie. It's these runners. They come up here. It's a bit of mystery, intrigue. They're trying to figure out what makes these special. Whether they can find people that are. I think it's like, are they able to be above this virus or something? To how their brain responds.
Are they art?
Yeah, basically.
Are they art? Is the drummer from Love Actually art?
Yeah, essentially.
Him and eyebrows.
Yeah. Do you reckon they could?
Go on. Take on this.
Let's get it over it.
Sorted. But
That's
aren't they
kind of
all
what's
American, like, voiced?
Yeah.
Aren't they doing accents? They've got best British actors ever.
Yeah.
Doing American
I
accents.
don't actually know whether Thomas Brodie Sangster is doing an American accent. Probably.
I think he
I'm
is.
gonna guess probably.
And what's funny is that movie with Londoners would just be perfect. Alright, we've got a maze and we're going to wreck these spiders.
What the hell is this maze doing
Get
here?
Tom Hardy in here. Come on, Thomas. Like, that would be a different film.
It would be a different
I would
film.
enjoy that a lot.
Well, I love this film because it had a great amount of action in it. The monster was genuinely terrifying the first time you see it. It's super scary. I'm thinking, how do we turn this into a D&D campaign?
Okay, I mean, this is interesting because I can't, because I'm not like, normally, you know me, with a film, I've watched it to death and I've imbibed it, I've made it part of me.
Yeah.
And so I know it. Whereas this one, I can vaguely remember and just going, what was that? But I was older than you. I'm ancient, you know, I'm nearly like dead at this point. So
This is factually correct.
like the dementia setting in, memory's not so great. Whereas this was your teen movie.
It was my teen
at
movie.
a time
yeah.
when teen movies were for you.
Yeah.
Whereas I was an adult at this time, so it's not.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. I said adult, not grown up. The two are very different, and the distinction will be maintained. Thank you. So we've got to make this into a movie. So I love the idea of maybe having all of those guys, so Thomas, etc., and team, the Maze Runners, as your players. and setting them up with that challenge, I think that's really quite a good concept. Your players, instead of waking up in the tavern, you wake up in the glade. And there are still the farmers to chat to, the equipment people to talk to, but you've got to get through. You've got to get through within a certain amount of time. And by the way, you don't know how big it is, you don't know what's inside, except for, and then get your players to run through and come across mech spiders.
Yeah.
Now D&D have already set you up with a few different spiders. You've got giant spiders.
Yeah.
You've got the phase spider.
Mm-hmm.
And actually the modrons.
That's right. Yeah.
Those guys where you've got the 1, the 2, the 3, and even the quintadron or whatever it's called.
That's right. Yeah.
Having those guys and that kind of mentality mixed in with a spider, I think lends itself to lots of possibilities.
Sure.
And so coming across those spiders, and I think if I was to run this as a one-shot, I'd have the spiders get progressively harder, and to avoid stagnation, start with those low-level spiders, really small ones, like the modron, and then get bigger and bigger as they get to the final door.
Sure.
And that one-shot would lend itself to a much bigger adventure that you can kind of, right, you guys have escaped the maze. This is the world.
Yeah.
And I'd love to blend going from the Maze Runner into the world of Divergent. So you've smashed through the gate, and then you've gone into the world of Divergent, and you've got to run. Why? Because I'm in the black crew, and we're running. Oh, but I could be in brown and be all cool. No, I'm in the black crew. I forgot what they were called.
The Dauntless.
Dauntless, thank you. Yeah.
You don't want to be an You don't want to be an amnesty.
Because we run. Oh, make blue and clever, because blue is clever in Harry Potter as well.
Yeah,
Ravenclaw in Divergent.
Blue is clever.
Blue is clever.
Yeah.
Blue is peaceful in my. Blue is chill. Blue is calm.
Yeah.
But no, blue is clever.
Yeah.
For these people, black is cool because we run and we jump and
we jump on trains and off trains.
Why? Because we're dollars.
Yeah.
Anyway, I would definitely have that lead into that, and you could do that kind of series, and then eventually, after we've completed all of the Maze Runner, all of Divergent, you end up in the Hunger Games.
Yeah. Okay, right. So maybe perhaps this is the introduction into reliving all of your well, if you're my age, your teen films.
Yeah, just all
it's
of
a
them in
specific
one
genre,
go.
isn't it? But okay, cool. Okay, so I actually, before with my black book, I did a bit of preparation for this, and I looked up lots of spiders in the D&D universe.
Okay.
As one might. I spent about an hour looking up D&D spiders.
It's more prep than I've ever done in my life.
Well, exactly. This is more than any Dungeon Master's ever done, which is what I'll never be good enough to be. And I think the type of spider you pick actually defines the campaign that you create. And I'm going to give you a bit of setting for this. So there's one spider called the Retriever. I don't know if you've ever heard of this. The Retriever is a CR13 monster. It is created by, and this is controversial apparently in the realm of people that take up controversy about where a monster's been created in accordance with law. But it could have been demon overlords. It could have been the Demogorgon himself, the Prince of Demons. It could have been Gratzt, the Demon of Decadence, or the Prince of Pleasure. Mm-hmm. Or Pazrael or Pazuzu, the Dark Angel of the Four Wings.
Pazuzu, love that guy.
Yeah, love that guy.
4 wings.
Yeah.
So over the top.
Over the top.
Most angels, 2 wings. Azuzu?
Yeah. Rubbish.
I realised I said 4 with 2 hands, so that was 8.
That was 8. That's 2 Pazuzus.
There's 2 Pazuzus.
2 Pazuzus.
There's only 1.
There's only one Pazuzu. It could have been primordials, like godlike beings beforehand.
Okay.
And it could have been the drow. Yeah.
So no one knows who created this retriever spider.
But these are like 2,000 kg massive mechanical spiders that are the retrievers of demon overlords. So, but they're CR13. They're massive. Okay. They're huge. They're big. They're terrifying. They are almost the big bad evil guy of a campaign in itself, which it kind of is in the Maze Runner. Yeah, okay, so moving on then, I also looked at the Chitine. Remember the Chitine? The Chitine are kind of like a race of people.
And the scorpion people.
No, more spider-like people, but they're kind of humanoid spiders. So the Chitine, in the smallest form, are 4 foot tall, half a CR rating, and they are these gross kind of grey underdark humanoids, but they've got 4 limbs, 2 legs, and they've got an extra joint in.
Okay.
So they are like super gross.
Grim.
They are like
Flexibility
horrific.
is gross.
Yeah, flexibility is disgusting. Ambidextrous people, disgusting.
I don't want to be out.
Disgusting. They live in 40 to 60 like population villages. They do have I think it's called Chodiliths, I think it is, which are or Chodiths, which are CR3 level, and they are the priests. They are people that have willingly become this, and they are more spider-like, but they've still got the humanoid faces, which is equally disgusting. And these beings, they came about from the Chednassard wizards. They're from the city of Shimmering Webs, or the city of Webs, which was
all the time.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely. Yeah, which spawned from a falling out of the House of Nassadra and the House of Sisril.
Is this related to Lolth in any way?
It is, absolutely. It's Loth. So the inhabitants that fell out of this war, they were told to appeared in front of them was a vision of Loth, and it said keep walking until they found this grotto, and they walked for decades, and they found this grotto. Decades.
Oh my god!
This is like I
don't like walking for 10 minutes.
This is biblical, you know.
Decades.
Yeah, and apparently then Loth appeared before them again and was like, "This is where you find the grotto." And then they formed the City of Webs. And from this, the wizards of Chednassard, they created these horrible, disgusting humanoids, and they were supposed to be an enslaved race.
Mm-hmm.
So they were kind of like transformed into these weird spider-like beings, maybe perhaps to look a bit like Loth in itself. So the weird thing about all of these is the Retriever and the Chitine, they are very subservient to something else, and that's the same with the Maze Runner. The spider, it's not kind of sentient itself, it belongs to something.
It's an automaton, isn't it?
Yeah.
You send it out and it does your bidding, which is destroy the teenagers that are running through the maze.
Yeah. That's it. And so
I put them in their place, really.
Right, and so I think a lot of this comes down to like, well, who is the big bad evil of this? And it's not the same as Wicked, because we're not trying to get teens that are going to like, overcome and rule the world, fight off the virus. There's got to be some nefarious bit to it, and I'm asking you now to just come up with a nefarious bit that could be the reason behind why people are trapped here with your adventurers. They arise instead of in a tavern. They're in the glade, and they're forced to walk through to run through this maze and fight off the spiders. But what possible nefarious reason could they have behind doing this?
What? So the big bad. Why would they entrap loads of teens and get them to run through a maze for their pleasure? I mean,
is it pleasure? Is that it?
Well, I mean, I'm thinking for someone like Grast, like who, I don't know if in the lore he's friends with Lolth ever, but I can imagine someone like that having a bet with her and just going, right, I put money on, and like almost they're racing the teens. And so the players are actually racing to get through the maze.
Okay.
Not knowing that they're actually just greyhounds in a race going for it. You know how greyhounds chase a rabbit that's actually just fluff?
Okay.
It's not a real rabbit.
Yeah.
These guys are chasing after the prize that is just bravo, well done. You guys are the best maze runners. Well done. Let's get you back in that lift. Start again. And then imagine, as a player, playing through the adventure again, knowing that you're just a greyhound in the race, and then you've got to somehow break that almost the fourth wall. Like you've got to break the entire adventure in order that you can then pursue the people outside of it, which is which is Lolth, and you've got to take them down.
Okay. So, right, talk me through this. So, session 1, you come up in the glade. I imagine you're all coming up together in this elevator, or do you have some people that have been there for a while? Or I guess I want to know, How big is the Glade area? Because in the movie, it's got 30 boys in. So it's small, and they're just like kids, basically. So it's not loads of infrastructure or anything. But I'm almost imagining now when you're talking about a wider plot of this could almost like turn into a bustling village or city even that's encompassed by this maze that they're living in. They don't even realise that they're being like lorded over by...
Totally manipulated.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't have them be a city. I'd still have it a village.
Okay.
A village can be still 100 people.
Sure.
Which within D&D, that's a nightmare for a DM.
Yeah.
Because if you ask me the name of all 100 people, I presume I know all of them because 100's not that many people.
Yeah.
But to me off the top,
Just a lot of people.
you end up with loads of Billies, loads of Jimmies, loads of Nicks, and there's a just like not. But like in D&D, I tend to like, oh, this is Balthazar, this is Romero.
Yeah.
But like I can only do that so many times before. That's John.
Yeah.
No, he's also called John. They're brothers.
Yeah.
And you just riff off of that, and I'll just go like when I'm doing a list of names, I'll often use, if depending on the setting, I'll often use my primary school, and I don't know if it's about you, but I can remember all the guys that I went to primary school with.
Yeah.
And so what you do is you then recreate that class, but Romanize the names. So instead of Matthew, it's Mateus. And instead of John, it's Ionescu. And instead of...
Forever ruined D&D campaigns that Fred runs for me forever now. Thank you very much.
Like,
everyone.
but like, I'll do...
You're a witness to that. That ruined everything.
I mean, I also work in the world of psychiatry, but I'm not about to rattle off loads of names that I know from the wards because that would breach confidentiality in a way that I'm not prepared for. But like, I'll just take a body of names and go, right, I know those people. But because in my mind's eye, I can see those people, I can still talk to Joel from year 3.
Yeah. Wait, no, I don't want to unpack that. That's so weird. That's such an odd thing to say.
No, like Joel, he was in year 3. We met up again in year 7. It was a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
But I still remember him and the conversations I had with him. And so you just take that personality and you can meet a Joel in game.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what Joel sounded like, but I still remember the guy. So you'll meet Joel. Or do you ever take notice of the name badges of cashiers and bank people and people in shops?
No, I don't do this.
I'm looking at Joe as well. Like he's also shaking his head. There's no dungeon masters out there. Definitely do this. Where you go, right? There's a wonderful woman, Sheila. She works at the local Aldi, and she's got a Scottish accent. So I recreate her as a male, and you will have met her in my D&D campaign. Lovely Glaswegian accent, and she's always upbeat.
Okay, so potentially,
No? Right.
well, I mean, I guess so. So potentially,
I'm feeling judged here, guys. Like,
well,
We are judging.
I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, we'll see what they say afterwards. But okay, so potentially you come up into the glade, and there's Joe from year 3, and there's Scottish Sheila.
yeah. And then there's Lisa, who stayed all the way to year 6. And
Of course, there is.
she's wonderful, glasses, blonde hair, very clever,
Can't forget about Lisa, obviously. So,
etc.
yeah. So there's a wide amount of people.
There's a group.
Yeah.
And because as a dungeon master, I know what all of these guys are like, roughly.
Yeah.
And then you as the players can meet all of these guys.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, after going through my entire history of all the people I've met throughout my life, supplying 100 names, hopefully not that many, but you've met them and, right, we've got to go into the maze.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we have to go into the maze? No, don't ask questions. You've got to go into the maze.
Yeah.
And this is how we get out. We're trapped here.
Mm-hmm.
You can go in any direction and you'll end up back in the glade.
Mm-hmm.
That maze is the ways through. And I don't like doing that to a group too much because it feels very railroady, but you're going, the adventure is through there.
Yeah.
So get all your equipment, go in there, come back, resupply, go in there, come back. And every time they go in, it'll just get a little bit harder, but hopefully, and they'll start mapping it out. And in old school D&D games, like people would assign someone as the map maker.
Right. Okay.
And so you can, as the dungeon master with them, make the maze. And if they make a mistake, that's fine, because that's kind of just like the human memory and its flaws naturally built in. And so anyway, you get them to describe the maze that you've drawn out as the dungeon master, and eventually they'll make their way through.
Yeah. So I mean, there's one bit in the Maze Runner, I think it's key to the maze, is that it changes every night. So, and I think...
I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's quite a key part of the maze. But I think that actually... So, to touch on one of the things, I think that what's key to the Maze Runner, the key to the feeling of it, is that there is only one way out, and actually we're all desperate to get out. I think maybe some people in the maze, or in the glade, sorry, they're kind of like, it's fine, I'm happy here.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean,
I don't want to, like...
it's like animals in a zoo.
Yeah,
This is nice enough. They feed us. I'm good.
But it's scary in there,
That is bad.
Like, we don't know what's out there. We're just happy here, And so I think some people are a bit like that. But for the adventurers that know they're coming into an adventure, the feeling is like, I mean, Thomas, when he comes to the movie, he's like, I want to get out. Like, I don't want to stay in here. I'm not happy. I'm not content. I want to get out. And I think that kind of sums up the essence of the movie a little bit, is the need to get out. So I think that even though it feels a bit railroady, actually, if you're creating a Maze Runner adventure, there's got to be a bit of that in it.
Well, I think that's the beauty of D&D, as well as these kind of movies, is they were subliminally just trying to get you to understand that safety is not as desirable as freedom. That's what the message is, isn't it? Right? Like as a society, we trade freedom for safety every single time.
Yeah.
Whereas this movie's like, no, want more, aspire to better, which is hilarious because you cathartically satisfy that urge for freedom through the movie, so that you stay in your safety and you pay for your movie tickets. Fantastic. Capitalism gone mad. Anyway, in D&D, you can also satisfy that need for freedom versus the safety. You don't need to stay there because the fantasy is getting out and breaking through those walls, challenging the spider, knowing that the consequences of losing are just re-rolling another character.
Yeah.
So I love the fact that people will just, we're breaking out, we're going for it. I think as a Dungeon Master, I would definitely lean into that and goad my players about wanting to stay safe versus go for it.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that's a key point, isn't it, about the role that a Dungeon Master has to play in it. But the hamming up of the, oh no, but it's so scary out there. Like it's safe in here. We make our own bread every morning. Like, try it. It's great. Like, welcome. I need a farmhand if you're looking for a job.
Yeah.
And
some of my players, I can imagine doing an entire session where we do Farm Simulator.
Yeah.
And we make the best looking house.
Sounds incredible.
But eventually, they'll be like, we need to break free.
Yeah.
Lean into Freddie Mercury. Got to be free. I want to be out there. One Love.
Yeah.
I can't remember any Queen songs at the moment.
Any Queen song?
No. But they'd have a montage and off they go, spider killing. That's the way.
Yeah.
So yeah, and subtly just play it. All of the Highlander theme, original soundtrack.
Yeah.
Raise up the volume until they're in the mood to kill some giant spiders.
Yeah.
And hopefully at some point, kind of just drop breadcrumbs, just litter it that you're being watched by a higher power.
Okay, so describe the maze to me briefly. So I don't know which spiders we're even going with here, but we're going with loads of spiders, and I think to make it a good adventure and one that can span, you've got to have spiders or monsters. Because you're essentially running a massive dungeon, right? And you're going to want to have monsters in the dungeon that kind of scale upwards, that they can... and you also kind of want sort of checkpoints, like, we're trying to get to here. Or you can't just go, here's a maze, do whatever you want in it, because you don't want to kill your adventures with a CR13. You kind of want to bring them into the story and reel them in. I mean, maybe they're hunting for something along the way, or maybe they're finding a hidden little room.
You've got to get to the middle of the maze.
Right.
In the middle of the maze, it's like your level up moment.
Yeah.
There is equipment at the centre.
Okay.
There's essential spider killing equipment.
And this is left by Pazuzu.
Pazuzu is a hates Grast. And he's like, it's not fair. I've got 4 wings. They've not got any wings. They're like losers. I want to bedazzle them a little bit. I want to give them a false hope.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to equip them with, not with wings, because that'd be too easy.
Too easy.
But with fast boots, with weapons, with fire.
I quite like almost the taking shots at Lolth and the and Gratz. Give them spider walking boots. Take some
Or
shots
missile
in there.
catching.
Yeah, take some shots at them. While they're there, give them rings that will help them see in the dark. Because he's the Prince of Pleasure is the Dark Prince.
Yeah.
So have a few subtle stabs at them along the way.
Just jab at that, and so that once they finally get through the maze, they'll be better equipped to take on the big guys.
Yeah.
But getting to the middle of the maze is hard.
Yeah.
And then they face the CR13 spider.
Yeah.
And once they've defeated that, then it's, oh, by the way, you think you're really strong, but you're now fighting Lolth.
Yeah.
The Demon Queen.
Yeah. And maybe there's more. I mean, maybe this kind of maze is situated in somewhere like the City of Webs. Or, I mean, that's in lore, that doesn't exist anymore. But, perhaps it kind of exists somewhere like that with worshippers of Lolth or somewhere where then you've got to fight through more levels of spiders to get to Lolth eventually. I don't know whether you're ready to take on an actual goddess at that time. Probably not. But, there's levels to take it afterwards, isn't there?
I mean, it feels like Bohemian Rhapsody's playing, and when the headbang moment, that bit is when, like, broadsword, covered in fire, laser, like, night vision goggles come on, and you cleave your way through all the spiders, and all the ones that have presented a challenge earlier on, you are battering. And as a dungeon master, you're like, oh no, you're killing all my spiders. Oh, aren't you guys awesome? But really, that's the montage, and then you're through the gates, enter the City of Web, and you're like, oh gosh, we've killed a lot of spiders. High five. Everywhere, we're now the flies in the spider web. We thought we were the humans mopping up spider web with our stick, just cleaning up the corners. No, we're the prey.
So we were the intruders.
Yeah. And that's when I'd probably have Lolth go, well, bravo. I'd love to see you in my chambers. And, like, enter the next bit of the...
Okay. Talk me briefly through a miniature session 1. You arrived in the glade. You talked to a few people. What kind of thing do you imagine? I mean, do you go into the maze straight away? Is this like... This feels like mainly combat heavy, but do you incorporate puzzles quite a lot into, like, the dungeons? And how do you build a good dungeon to make it an exciting session? Not just the first time in session 1, but also session 50. I mean, what do you include in it?
Yeah, that depends on your players.
Right.
So, I've had some players recently have to work out what I thought was the simplest of riddles.
Okay.
For everyone out there, what is tall when it's young and short when it's old? And the answer is, obviously, a candle.
Oh, of course.
Which
I left my candle in my home.
Everyone knows that simple, like famous riddle, but it was amazing because it was really important,
right?
And the guys could not get it, and so I had to move it along a little bit, and the combat started. And midway through fighting, just one of my players, he's got a masters, he's an engineer, he's dead, and they're all really intelligent guys.
Yeah.
But Mr. Masters Engineer in the corner goes, candle! I swing my battle axe and screams it. And it's just the funniest moment in D&D. Because, everyone else in the room that wasn't playing but watching the game knew, well, it's a candle.
Sure.
Obviously, it's a candle. But they couldn't get it under the stress of the situation or whatever. So, for that group, I might keep it less puzzle heavy.
Okay.
They were a very chaotic... I
so
go in,
hack and slash.
I burn the forest down in order to solve the problem of knowing where to go. If the trees aren't in the way, then I can see the obvious path. That kind of group.
Yeah.
Lots of hack and slash. Start with lower and make it progressively harder. And almost denote that's a harder spider because it's red.
Sure.
That's a clever spider because we know they're blue.
Because it's blue.
And then I just kind of have that kind of system until you have a multicolored, prismatic spider.
The prismatic spider.
Oh no, he must be really dangerous because he glows. And then I'd have that.
Okay.
Player in that session, I am feeling personally.
I wasn't pointing at anything as Joe right there. but he was not the Masters guy with the engineer that said candle. So anyway, I'd probably have that. Whereas there's some groups that just love role play, love puzzles, and so I'd probably have Lolth tease that group with puzzles and be like, if you can come this way, if you solve this puzzle, here's a shortcut.
Okay.
If you fail, go through more combat, some red spiders.
Or here's a treasure room, a vault, something like that, where there's treasure, or where there's something else that can arm you better, or something like that.
Or even like a door through a hedge.
Okay.
Here's the door. Get it wrong, sorry.
Yeah.
You die. But get it right, welcome through.
Okay.
I'd set it that way, I think. And I just have, and that way, with that kind of more cerebral group, maybe, you might say, they are being teased by the big bad all the way through.
Yeah.
Whereas the combats, you're kind of like, this is probably Lolth. There's lots of spiders everywhere. It's going to be Lolth. But there's less breadcrumbs.
So if your group has the capacity for a bit of engagement upstairs, then it's quite healthy and good, and maybe that's when you can bring Lolth into it. I guess my final question on this, to wrap up and encapsulate what the Maze Runner is there's a lot of fear on what happens if you get stuck inside. How do you bring that as a dungeon master in this adventure? How do you make it so you have to get back? What happens if you get stuck in? What are the consequences? Can you survive a night if you get stuck in? Is it possible? Do you have people dying beforehand? Do you have people regaling stories of like lost children, maybe, or lost heroes, or do you have people that have like severed limbs where they've like just like died for it, or how do you treat it in your campaign?
I think you'd probably, if it was a one shot, you'd definitely in those early role play bits, really emphasise don't get trapped in.
Okay.
I'm going to sell you this wheat, but I can't lift a bag of flour. This hand is missing.
Yeah.
Those spiders are terrifying. Aren't they awful?
Yeah.
I can't walk properly anymore.
Yeah.
Those kind of guys. And if it was a bigger campaign, then I'd let them go in, and on the first, I'd pre-warn them, make sure that they know what they're going into. But if they're too slow, make sure that the consequences are real. And so I'd give them maybe a 3-wave night. And you'd write it off as the moon isn't full. My players like to make fun of me with my use of the moon.
Yeah.
But by the moonlight, the spiders aren't out in full tonight. And so you'd have a half moon, and that meant that only some of the spiders, but it was a 3-wave night, and it was a small one, big one.
Yeah, that's nice.
And then the blue ones. And the blue ones always attack from above, and there's a bit of predictability. But in waves, you give them kind of... You're not overwhelmed by like turn order, because if there's too many baddies, it doesn't matter if they're low level, eventually you're going to get hit, and enough hits is bad. I'd probably have this as a level 4 group, because they've not got epic stuff like Fireball, which will reduce everything to ash very quickly and make the entire thing redundant. But they're powerful enough that they can take a hit. You don't want level 1s in the maze. I mean, you could, and actually the level 1s, like you could, is a campaign, send levels 1s into the maze. Anyone that comes back immediately goes to level 2, and so on. And that's how you populate the adventure. And you do a few, you're stuck in the glade, and by the time they get to level 4, right, now the story really starts. And that might be quite satisfying. But that feels like satisfying for the Dungeon Master, not for the players.
Perhaps.
Because they're there, it turns out, I was Lolth all along.
Yeah.
You were there for my pleasure. And you were like,
you were the Prince of Pleasure. You were Gratz.
I was Gratz all along, sorry guys. And some might argue I'm that with all of my campaigns.
Perhaps.
It's just for my pleasure.
Aren't all DMs, perhaps?
Yeah. So maybe I feel like I've learned something about myself today.
It's been a journey.
It has been a journey. I like it. The deep truths that we've uncovered here.
Brilliant. Well, there you go. That's it.
Sorry.
That is the Maze Runner as a D&D adventure. Perhaps it depends how you want to run it, but for us it is waves of spiders in a maze surrounding a village, overlorded by Lolth, and it is overcoming as part of an evil game between her and Gratzt.
And learning the lessons that freedom is more desirable than safety.
Absolutely. It's all about the adventure.
Yeah, all about the adventure. I like that a lot.
All about the adventure.
I don't live that, but we'll say that. In game time, absolutely, I'm with you.
There you go.
Anyway.
Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.